Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about what triggers fight or flight. Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Cindy Zaffis. I am a chiropractor and also a diplomate in addictionology and compulsive disorders. So today we're going to talk about what triggers fight or flight. I first want to talk about the Tubbs fire. So I live in Northern California. In 2017, the Tubbs fire was here, and it was the first of a set of really just huge wild fires that were in this area. And it's just kind of in the middle of the night. It was very fast. It just swept through a lot of the area here. And it was actually so fast, it was going like a football field a minute, so really fast. And of course, I had a lot of patients come in after that with anxiety and sleep issues, other things like that. But in particular, I had one patient who actually lost his house. Him and his wife lost his house. But they were, the fire had come over the hill. It was in the middle of the night. And they woke up and they were driving away from the fire, and he said that the fire was so hot and it was right behind him. You know, they were like racing to get away from the fire. He felt like it was so hot that he felt like the rubber in his car was like gonna melt as they were, driving away from the fire. So that would be an example of something that would trigger the fight or flight mechanism. So things that trigger fight or flight it's a very beneficial reaction in the body where the entire nervous system goes into, it's called a sympathetic fight or flight, and it's a full body response, and it's typically for, danger, situations where there's danger, at least even emotional or probably physical. So I do think too, though, when family members die or when you lose your job or, a pet dies or some traumatic incident, I think that also stimulates the fight or flight mechanism. So one thing that I do in my office is whenever people come in, I always check them for, it's called sympathetic dominance. So the autonomic system, which really controls the whole body, is, all the organs, the muscles, and the heart. And so I find that a lot of my patients are in more of they may not be in extreme fight or flight, but they're in, I would call that a sympathetic dominance. They're more on the sympathetic side. And so I want to talk about the causes of that as well. So a lot of people don't know about that, but I do want to talk about the causes of being in like a long-term, more of a long-term fight or flight mode. So the causes of that, I think, are, again, loss of a loved one. Also, if you have long-term stress, let's say you're going to school full-time and then you're working, or, you're taking care of somebody and you're just kind of overexerting yourself for a long period of time, I think that puts you into a sympathetic dominance mode. I also see that chemicals in foods and the environment will also put you, I'd say about 10 to 20% of patients, I'm finding that the chemicals in the environment or the foods are putting their nervous system into a fight or flight or a sympathetic dominance mode. At some point, I'm thinking about actually doing seminars where we're going to kind of educate people on that. And then lack of magnesium, that is not as common. Every once in a while, I see children that are in a sympathetic dominance. Is not very common, but most of the time with them, magnesium helps. So how do you resolve what I would call a sympathetic dominance? So let's say somebody's had a fight or flight experience, and their nervous system is still in that emergency mode. That's really bad for your system. It's just taxing, and so we don't want that. So how do you resolve that? Let's look at each one of the triggers. So the first trigger is, again, that, danger or sudden trauma or long-term stress. So what we do with that is we have a formula, our clinic, Health Resolution Treatment Center brain formula. So if it is due to acute or long-term stress, this is usually what we use. It works great. Now I do want to talk about, so that formula is a whole food formula, but it also has a animal glandular. And so I've had patients in the past where they were vegetarian and they didn't want to take something that had an animal product in it. So I tried different herbs, and I was not able to get the autonomic system out of that sympathetic dominance. So sedative herbs are really wonderful for all kinds of things, but they don't reset the autonomic system. So, and even I have to say, CBD and cannabis also do not reset the autonomic system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. It does a lot of other great things, but I've never seen it do that. So we do rely on this formula here. So if the reason why they're in a sympathetic, kind of a chronic fight or flight mode, if it's the cause of that is chemicals, then usually what we'll do is we'll have to figure out what supplements to put them on, because if you're doing a mercury detox, that's a different set of supplements than if you were detoxing out aluminum. Those totally different supplements. So we usually have to figure out what supplements are going to detox whatever chemical is in that body. And then children, again, it's very rare for a child to be in sympathetic dominance or just like a chronic fight or flight mode. Usually if they are, we just give them magnesium and that works great. Sometimes with adults, maybe 1 to 2% of the time, that will help. But most of the time with adults, if it's coming from an acute or chronic stress, we pretty much have to put them on the brain formula. So, and the interesting thing is like before the Tubbs fire, because I would check everybody for sympathetic dominance, and before the Tubbs fire, I would say maybe 40 to 60% of adults would be in that chronic sympathetic dominance, or like a chronic fight or flight mode. But after the Tubbs fire and just ongoing, I would say maybe 95% of people that walk in the door are in that sympathetic dominance mode. So a lot more people. So just case studies. I had a patient of mine. She came in more for musculoskeletal issues, but her husband had died and she was just not sleeping well. And we put her on the brain formula, and then she was able to just, get to sleep easier and sleep better. It had been several months since her husband died. So we put her on the brain formula. That worked great. I had another patient he was a long-term patient, and his wife died. And he didn't want to take supplements, so we just gave him a sample and said, here, take this. And that it did help him. So he ended up going on the brain formula as well, and that really helped him. And then the people in the Tubbs fire, after the Tubbs fire, because it was in the middle of the night, very dramatic, very traumatic. So a lot of people had anxiety, focus issues, and sleep problems. And so we put everybody on the brain formula, and that really helped a lot of people. So we do have a quiz. If you're wondering, is your autonomic system in more of a fight or flight mode? Are you chronically in a fight or flight mode? Or have sympathetic dominance? Then we have a quiz. You can click the link below and take the quiz, and just more information about sympathetic fight or flight in general. And then we do want to just thank you for listening, and we hope that you got a lot out of the video. So thank you.